3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Good day, viewers, and welcome back to yet another edition of WeTalk. I am, of course, Precious Nitanapo, your host and presenter for this show. So this week, we have quite a few things lined up, which includes an interview with Selma Iyambo, who is the founder of a sex podcast, and we're going to speak to her in a bit just regarding the podcast and the aims and objectives that she has with the launch of this new podcast. Later on, we will have a look at the WeChill segment, of course, just looking into what we can expect for this weekend. But before we get to that, we also have an interesting We Recommend, something that I think most of us should have a look at, a login, register, and try out, which is just a taxi verification system by the City of Windhoeks. But before we get into the rest of the show, first let's have a look at the news. In today's news edition, we look at Namibia targeting global markets, global investors. The Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board, NIPDB, is present at the annual investment meeting of 2023, taking place from 8 May to the 11th of May in Abu Dhabi. The annual investment meeting is an influential platform that brings together investors, policymakers, and industry leaders from around the globe to foster economic growth and international cooperation. Namibia's involvement in this meeting underscores its commitment to attracting the investment, diversifying its economy, and establishing itself as a prime destination for global investors seeking growth and diversity in emerging markets. As a part of the key activities at the annual investment meeting, Namibia takes center stage during its country representation. Additionally, the NIPDB, under the leadership of Chairperson and Chief Executive Nangula Wanja, hosts 2 business forums to position Namibia as a lucrative investment destination and highlight the investment opportunities the country has to offer. These sessions will be hosted on 10th May in Abu Dhabi and the 2nd on 11 May 2023 in Dubai. In addition to showcasing the country's investment opportunities, the NIPDB, in partnership with FNB Namibia, is supporting 5 micro, small and medium enterprises with high growth potential to participate on the margins of the event by attending business meetings to form partnerships that can help their business access new markets and grow. As FNB, we feel that we must support initiatives that will grow MSMEs, not because we want to, but because we need to. We have committed to sponsoring 100,000 towards the NIPDB High Potential Pool, which will go to the 5 MSMEs. FNB's Area Business Manager for the Central Cluster, Jeffrey Kashivena, mentions. As an emerging market that is competing for investment dollars with other countries in Africa and beyond, Namibia must maintain a continuous, persistent presence, particularly at investment-focused events to create awareness of the country's vast investment potential. Through these awareness creation efforts, Namibia has captured the attention of the global energy community with its potential and focused strategy towards clean hydrogen production and the recent significant oil and gas discoveries, both onshore and offshore. These added to the country's position as the second largest producer of uranium, its biomass potential and abundant wind and solar resource, present unparalleled investment opportunities in the energy sector. Furthermore, as the only African country that exports beef to China, the EU and the USA, Namibia presents investment opportunities in agriculture and is making moves to compete at a global level in the small livestock meat, dates, blueberries and grapes sub-sector. That brings us to the end of today's news edition. I hope you stick around for the rest of the show.
Right, if you are just joining us, you're of course watching WeTalk and you have just tuned into the news. Now, Precious has taken you through the news, but right now you can see a new face, a face that you've not seen on WeTalk, and I'm of course Hancho Kapofi, and I'll be taking you through the most exciting part of today's show, which is of course our lovely interview while Precious takes a little bit of a break. Now, I am joined by a woman of so many titles. She is the Her Voice Fund Ambassador to Namibia. She is a sexual reproductive health and rights activist, and also her very much new baby. She is the founder of the Sex Talks podcast. None other than the Selma Iyambo. How are you and how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, after the whole introduction, how can I not be doing that well?
Yes, but thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. You could have been at home creating, but you are here to tell us a little bit more about everything. So let's start by talking about sexual reproductive health. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, sexual reproductive health rights is something that I've been into. It's a sector I've been into ever since I was 13 years old. I started volunteering at the Namibia Planned Parenthood Association, which is popularly known as NAPA. That is where I then volunteered and I became a youth representative to the NAPA board. And that's how I got involved into the whole thing of outreach, engaging with young people from various communities and ensuring that they do have sexual health services and information at their doorfront. And that's how I began to actually get into the whole field. I started engaging with young people, and I was approached by an international organization that is Her Voice Fund, as you have mentioned it, and that's how I became then the ambassador, because we then provide grants to community-based organizations that are then working within the sector to ensure that young people have access to quality and factual information when it comes to sexual reproductive health and rights.
Oh wow, you said a whole lot. But if I could pick up from what you said, you said that Her Voice Fund basically funds community groups that are looking into sexual reproductive health and rights.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So tell us, what is the importance of volunteering at such a young age, especially at organizations that have to deal with sexual reproductive health? I mean, you were just 13 years old, grade 7, if I'm not mistaken, grade 7, grade 8, somewhere around about. Exactly. So what is it that led you to this? What is the importance when it comes around that conversation?
Well, I was 13 and I didn't really see the importance because somebody, a young woman that then used to tailor at my aunt's, what is this, a workshop. So she comes there and she's like, no, we have this organizations, it works with young people, you should definitely check it out. And within the few years that, ever since I was 13, I then began going to, to the organization, the clinics, and seeing what they do. And that's how I began to fall in love with the whole thing of volunteering, because I then see the difference that it makes within the community. Yes. And I was quite fortunate because at 13, I got this information, I got to see the services that are being offered. And this is not something that is available to every young Namibian. And that is how I began to see the need for me to engage with more communities as to get the exposure to the young people. And you have also asked about the importance of volunteering. I mean, it gives you the exposure that you need about various things that are happening within your community, because if I was sitting at home, I was never going to know about what young people need, what challenges that they are facing. And apart from the exposure, it then also allows you to know how to work and engage with the next person, because, we all know that we are chasing a qualification at the university, but it's not a qualification that makes you stand out. What else do you know? So you kind of need to have that analysis to say, I need a degree, but I also need the exposure and the experience to know what's going on around me.
Wow, thank you so much. You've said a whole lot. And I think I second you there when it comes to the importance of volunteering. I think it's through volunteering that you get a lot of exposure, that you get to meet or find these different opportunities. But you've contributed so much when it comes to sexual reproductive health and rights within our country this far, especially as the ambassador to Namibia now for that specific organization. Now let's talk about your new baby, Sex Talks Podcasts. I just want to know, firstly, before I get into the podcast, what inspired the name? Because when you hear that name, immediately you are already drawn to what is actually happening here?
Yes, sex. And that's exactly why I chose the name. It wasn't ideally me alone, because then I sat with a few young people, like my friends, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I have this idea of starting a podcast, because I then came up with different names, but the names were more like, we are running away from the actual conversation, which is sex, sexual health matters. And that's how I was then like, if I call it Sex Talks Podcast, whether you want to know about sexual health or you just think, because we have this thing within our society, when somebody speaks about sex, they are promoting sexual intercourse within young people. So it's like, whether this person actually wants to just know about sexual health, or they're of the opinion that people actually promote sex, they're going to be attracted to sex talks, and they're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's intriguing for you to be like, I need to find out. So that's how you then get more audience within the podcast, because they're curious.
All right, so tell us about the different conversations that you have on the podcasts, because I'm sure that you don't only, on your recent one with Mehafo, she touched a lot on her menstrual cycle, for example. So tell us a little bit more about those conversations, apart now from sexual reproductive health, of course.
Okay, because the whole idea of the podcast is to speak about sexual health-related matters in an openly manner. So we then look at what is going on within our society, because every day within the headlines you get to hear about a child that is being raped by the father. Our houses are no longer the safest place. And every single day a girl gets her menstrual cycle, but she doesn't know how to break it to her parents, or because she's very, very shy. And we have the boy child that is not well informed about such matters, because society then looks at it like it's a woman issue. So what we then do on Sex Talks Podcast is we look for such conversations depending on what's going on in our society. It also then depends on what exactly do you as our audience want us to discuss. How then, because we have a website that was launched last week, and that's where you're able to access the podcast. It's also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. And the beauty of the podcast is the fact that when you listen to it on our website and on Spotify, you're able to give us a review. And through that review, you then see how were you learning from our first episode. And we then also give you an opportunity for you to actually tell us what would you like to hear next on our podcast. And we also have an email address, and you are able to remain anonymous if you just want us to have a conversation. And we then look at, is it something that another young person can come in and share their story, like in the case of Mehafo, where she was sharing her story about menstrual journey and finding contraceptives that work for her. Is it something more like a relatable story, because I've been in the sector for more than 5 years, that allows me to have more in-depth as to what is going on? Or do I need to bring in an external party, which is now an expert, that then need to come in and give you information that we or me as a host cannot deliver to you.
Yes, yes, yes. I absolutely love the whole concept. And I love that the podcast deals with basically talking about what is regarded as taboo, sexual reproductive health and rights, and also just basically bringing the youth story forward because, I mean, you guys are the youth and you're speaking to the youth, making it much more relatable. So before I let you go, do you have any final comments for our viewers?
Yes. Thank you so much for the love that we have received thus far, and we look forward to getting more engagement, more reviews from you, and so we're able to actually know what should we provide for you, because I mean we are young people, we have gone through this, but then our experiences differ from person to person. So if you would like us to speak more of something that is closely relatable to you, something that you are going through, or you feel like your society is not well informed about, please make sure to listen to our episode. Check out our website on Sex Talks Podcast Namibia, as well as our various social media platforms, so you are more engaged and we get to serve you the content you deserve, not what we think you deserve.
All right, thank you so, so much. Right, you heard it yourself there from Selma Iyambo, telling us about Sex Talks podcast and how it is very much relatable to the youth. You can find it on Spotify. I've also heard Apple Podcasts, as well as the website. All you need to do is search for Sex Talks podcast and it will be with you. Leave a review so that they know what to deliver to you. Please do stay tuned because Precious has more coming your way.
Well, viewers, it's of course time for our We Recommend for today, which is the taxi verification service provided to us by the City of Windhoek. Now, this service is of course just meant for our own safety. Here we are on the City of Windhoek's portal, and basically there is a numerous amount of services that they provide, but what we want to have a look at is their e-portal. So if you just type in City of Windhoek on your Google tab, it will take you straight to this one. So the e-portal is at your top right corner. You just want to go ahead and click on the portal and it will take you straight to the e-portal, where it allows you to register if you have not registered, or to log in. So I have already registered, so for me it's just a matter of logging in. As you can see there, my details are over there, my email address and just a password that I created. Additionally, if you have not registered before, the registration process is quite simple. Just your name, surname, email address and your password that you need to create. So we're going to go ahead and log in, and it takes us straight to the e-portal. Right, so at the e-portal on your left-hand side, you will see that there is a services tab. Just go ahead and click on the services tab and it will give you online statements, city police, and taxi verification, which is what we are looking for. One click on the taxi verification option, and this is where you put in the big number of the taxi. So not the registration number plate, but the big taxi number. So we did have a look at a few taxis that we found in the parking lot of Vernhill. We're just going to have a quick look at those. Here we have a taxi U155, which is a grey Polo. But we can see that the details are scratched, as well as the details on the other side. So this might make you a little bit skeptical of getting into this cab. A safe option would definitely be to verify it firsthand. Then we're going to have another look at these two over here. We have Toyota Corolla S027, about goldish, yes. And then we have a Honda Fit A021. So in these pictures, you can also see the verification, the license number plate, right? So we're going to go ahead and then just type in the taxi number which we just saw. If I recall properly, we saw a Honda Fit. Yes, that one over there. We saw a A021 Honda Fit. So that's the one that we are going to type in. We're going to type in the big number, A021, and there the information kicks off. So there you have the taxi number, the registration number of the car, the color, the make and the model, as well as the owner name and the contact details. So in any case where you have left your device or any of your property in the taxi, you can always reach out and call the owner. Maybe the owner can refer you to the taxi driver. In a case that you stumble upon a taxi that does not show up on City of Windhoeks statement, you can of course report the taxi. It's important to get the big taxi number, as we've mentioned before, but also the vehicle registration number, because it's going to ask you to put in the vehicle registration number, the make and the model, as well as the color. Additionally, you're going to add your complaint, whether it is an illegal operating taxi, whether it is a taxi that has robbed you, or it is a taxi that has mistreated you in any manner. So that basically sums up the taxi verification service. Definitely think it's something that we should all have a look at, especially for those of us who make constant use of taxi verification. But that brings us to the end of our We Recommend segment. I really think it's something that we should have a look at and that we should try out, just for our own safety and the safety of those around us. But that's it for today's We Recommend. Thank you.
It's a busy weekend with a whole lot on offer. On Friday at 5, there's a neighborhood night market at the Franco-Namibian Cultural Center with street food, craft beer, ice cream and more until 10. At 7, Shimmy for Shelter in aid of animal welfare takes place at the Delta Primary School in Windhoek. A second show takes place on Saturday at the same time and place. Also at 7, the top 10 finalists in the Miss Teen Namibia pageant will be announced at Droombos, and at 8, South Africa's Good Luck performs at the Mint nightclub in Windhoek. On Saturday at 8 a.m, artist Aktuval Ilovo hosts a linoleum block printmaking workshop at the Project Group. At the same time, the Finkenstein Bush Market takes place at the estate on the outskirts of the capital, with entertainment for the whole family until 1 o'clock. Also at 8, the Heart Flea Market, hosted by the Namibia Heart Foundation, takes place at the Wanderers Sport Field in Pioneers Park, with wellness, screenings, fun and games, food and beverages and more. At 9 o'clock, the Be Happy Market takes place at the Reformed Church in Kubabas until 1, and the SPCA in Windhoek hosts a garage sale in support of their fundraising activities. At 10, the Association of Diplomatic Spouses hosts the International Food and Crafts Bazaar at the Windhoek Country Club. At 6, Strictly Soul, Africa's biggest R&B party, takes place at the Stratos at the Avani Hotel featuring DJ Akio and guests. And at 7, Dr. Victor and the Rasta Rebels perform at the Windhoek Country Club. Finally, the top 10 finalists in the Miss Namibia Beauty Pageant will be announced at the Droombos Black Barn. That's it for now. Have a great weekend.
Namibia's hospitality is as vibrant as its people. Join the What's Cooking team as they travel the country cooking, chatting, and celebrating local personalities and the joy of food. If you think you have a standout offering, whether it's a restaurant, bar, pop-up event, or braai stand, get in touch with the What's Cooking team at cooking@synergy.com.na, and we will be there to show the world what's cooking. Programs air every Friday at 4 p.m. on all the NMH Facebook platforms, as well as on NTV, DSTV channel 285, and GoTV channel 94 at 9 p.m.
Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us sadly to the end of WeTalk's edition for this week. But nevertheless, we did have an interesting episode where we spoke to Selma. We had an interesting We Recommend, which is a taxi verification service. Not forgetting our WeChill segment, something for you to look out for this weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that you tune in again next week. See you then.
2, 1.